Comic Chat. Thanks for tuning in.
I take my headphones off so I don't have to hear myself through them.
Oh, great, because we do.
Welcome everybody to the Nerdschatting podcast. My name is Nate, and with me tonight are my two very good friends, Ben and JB. Ben, how are you?
I'm good, Nathan. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. JB, how are you?
I'm fine.
Excellent.
JB, how are you?
I'm very good. I'm
Just
really
gonna
funny.
place them down so it's not making any noise. Just, let's peek behind the curtain. I put the headphones on just to make sure the audio's okay, and then I realised I had them on while we were singing, and I was like, oh my god, I'm going to hear my own voice. This is horrible. So I took them off.
So I always butcher the audio in the recording.
In the
Edit. Oh, I've broken it already. Don't worry about it.
So with the Nerdschatting, we chat about all things nerdy, movies and TV shows and comic books and sometimes video games and sometimes board games and sometimes other things that are nerdy, things that we enjoy. And today we are exclusively talking about the movie Shang Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, you got it absolutely.
I think it's
spot on.
actually the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Oh, I missed the.
Yeah,
But I got Shang right.
you did get Shang.
Sean.
You changed your name from Sean to Shang.
Brilliant.
Very good. Very good, both of you.
Mate, that's my best Aquafina impression. I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
So if you haven't seen Shang-Chi, you probably should stop listening because we're going to be doing spoilers throughout the whole thing, I think.
Full spoilers.
Could you do it without spoilers?
You could, but it would be very good to listen to, I don't think.
You could do it like this. That bit at the beginning is pretty good.
Yes.
And then there's the bit also at the beginning, which is really good.
Yeah, you're
and
right.
then there's that bit in the middle, and then at the end there's a really good bit, isn't there?
Pod finish.
Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone.
You can catch us on Spotify. No, this is good.
That was good.
Okay, yeah. So we're going to go through the movie. We're going to talk about some of the stories, some of the actors and characters, some of our favourite bits, some of our worst bits. We're going to butcher the idea of whether it's a good representation of Chinese culture. Us being three clearly, deeply rooted Chinese people.
/ British white men.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah, so
correct.
we don't know is the answer.
No, we don't.
And then we're going to talk about what it means for the future. So, the story, everyone. What did we think of the story? What was the story?
Oh, you son of a goat herder. Well, it was...
Why don't you tell the story of the first half of the movie and you tell the story of the second half of the movie? Because they are two very distinct moments in this film.
Okay, so Shang-Chi's dad, Zhu Wenwu, has these 10 rings. And he's had them for thousands of years, and they have prolonged his life. We don't know where he gets them from. I guess we're going to find that out in future films.
They say he may have found them in like in a crater or a cave or something.
They're from outer space.
Yeah. Eternals.
Oh,
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly.
you got a cough.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Every time I cough, I say Marvel movies,
Oh,
future
brilliant.
Marvel movies.
Oh, Marvel cough.
Spiderman.
Oh my god, Marvel cough is the best cough.
That's very good.
Thank
Did
you.
you make that up on the
I
spot?
did right then.
Funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, so these 10 rings give him some form of immortality, or they prolong his life.
They also
give
don't
him-
explain that very much, do they? They're just like, he's Adam.
Don't scratch the surface.
No.
He's just got them.
But that is good.
Yes.
And basically, he is conquering much of the world, and he decides he wants to conquer this mystical land, which I have completely...
Tarlo.
Thank you, Tarlo. Now, I suspect that if this was a faithful recreation of it, would it be Tarlo? Or would it be something else, like possibly where Iron Fist is from?
Yeah, maybe.
Or trains.
Yeah, Tarlo's
Which
definitely
I've
in the
forgotten the
comics.
name of as
yeah,
well.
I can't remember either, but it's definitely in the comics. But I know so little about Shang-Chi as a character and his backstory and the various reboots he's had. All I know is basically from the YouTube videos I've seen since it's come out. So, I don't know, maybe?
Kamatage is Doctor Strange, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Right. So what? I've got to look up Iron Fist now.
Okay.
I've got to look up what it is and where he lives.
Where does he?
Doesn't matter.
But maybe they don't want to be anywhere. They don't want to have any sort of connection to the Iron Fist TV show because it's very much chopping that out of the Marvel cinematic.
Why is that?
universe.
Is it not very good?
Well, it's the Netflix shows. They've got rid of the
yes.
Daredevil.
They're
Iron
not
Fist.
strictly canon, are they?
No,
Not at the moment.
there's
Anyway.
rumours that Charlie Cox might be coming back
Anyway.
because everyone likes him.
Okay, and so do I.
Back to Shang-Chi. So Zhu Wenwu is going to try and get into the mystical land of Tarlo, but there's a protector there who quite easily bests him, and it's the first time he's ever been bested when he's wearing the 10 rings, and they have a sexy fight, and they get married.
Is it a sexy fight or is it a lovey fight?
Oh, I think it's like, hey, how you doing?
Is it?
You've got 10 rings.
Oh,
I've got loads of leaves. Come in there, look at this, and now I've got some wind.
So was
Not
it-
that type of wind.
It was, yeah, she has got wind. Do you think that scene was a metaphor for them making love?
I think he definitely.
Okay. Sorry.
I'm sorry, what? You weren't happy with making love?
Sorry, no. Yeah, it probably was.
Because there was it's just interesting because there was the spinny round bit where they like lock on each other's faces in slow motion, but then later on, Shang Chi and Wei Wu. I've got it wrong again.
Zhu Wenwu.
Wenwu, thank you. When they
His dad,
yeah,
Shang-Chi's dad.
They lock eyes as well and they do a similar spinny thing. So I was like, in my brain, I was like, huh, that was allegory for making love. Maybe it's not. Anyway, yeah, meets Tarlo lady and
they get married and they fall in love and they have 2 children. One being Shang-Chi and one being Zhenglin, I think it is.
Yes.
Shang-Chi's sister, basically.
Yes.
And because the Ten Rings organisation, which is that Shang-Chi's dad runs, is not an equal opportunities organisation, he is trained as an assassin, like to within an inch of his life, Shang-Chi, and his sister is forced to stand and watch.
trains herself.
She trains herself, which basically means that she is probably better than Shang-Chi or more gifted.
You could argue.
Martial artist.
Yeah. Maybe.
I'd say so. I'd say so.
So we're in the first 10 minutes of the movie at the minute.
My God, are we really?
Are we though?
Because it jumps around, doesn't it? Yeah.
And I absolutely loved it. They get all through the movie.
Kunlun. That's what I'm
Kunlun, yeah.
Brilliant. That's
Kunlun,
right.
yes,
Thanks for interrupting.
yeah.
Sorry.
Pause for interruption.
You love the way it jumps around through time.
Yes, I liked. It gave you enough to get you through 30 minutes, and then all of a sudden a conversation would strike up, and then you'd be like, "Oh, there's a little bit more backstory."
Yeah.
And then you move on again, and a little bit more backstory. Absolutely loved it.
I liked that element, but I also liked the fact that sometimes when that happens, so like I'm thinking like the Arrow TV show. Do you remember there were 2 time periods in the first season of that, and in that it used to be, and I think they've done it quite a lot in TV shows since then. The person in the present day learns a lesson that they've already learnt in the past, but we're shown it twice.
Sure.
Whereas in this, it was like the flashbacks just enhanced the story. It was just more. It wasn't keeping things from the audience.
Yeah.
The only thing it kept from the audience was how the mum died, but that didn't matter.
No,
it didn't matter to the story.
I really like the interaction between Sean and Katie, and she thinks that they've met at college, university.
Yeah.
She doesn't know anything about it. He hides that he's double-R'd, and then one of the best scenes in the whole movie happens, and she's like, "Who is this guy?" And then you see that backstory of him training and doing
telling
all
the
of those
story,
things, and the challenges he had with his father, just like telling him he's got to keep on hitting this trunk and breaking his hand, smash his hand, and all that sort of stuff. I thought that was done brilliantly, which was very different to, which I also love, which was Black Panther. Right at the start of the film, you get all of Wakanda's history in about 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And it was like that. Real big injection, but that worked as well. So
I think it was somewhere in the middle of Black Panther and Batman Begins for me. Batman Begins just jumps around through time for the story to give the origin, and Black Panther, like you say, gives you the full story. I think it's somewhere in between that. It's taken some influences from both of those. Anyway, what else happens?
Okay, so basically it skips forward in time. Shang-Chi is working as a valet or a car parking guy with Katie and
all of those things.
Yes. And they don't seem to have an awful lot of drive in their life.
Nice pun.
Thank you.
That was good. Again, did you just come?
No, that was absolutely no pun intended whatsoever.
It feels like you're on auto.
That was just an accidental partridge from me. Thank you.
Yeah.
And they're working in. I think it's in San Francisco, isn't it?
It's
because of the trams and things. And they're on the train one day. Oh, and they're not a couple. Absolutely, they're not a couple. They're just friends. They're going to be a couple eventually. So they're on a train one day, going to work or whatnot, and they are attacked. And
It's a bus.
Is it a bus? I do beg your
What did you
pardon.
say?
I said train. I thought tram. Doesn't matter what it was. Whatever it was.
It's because she steers it is the point.
That's true. And it's got a double carriage.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's a bendy bus like we have in the UK.
Yeah. Anyway, they then get into this almighty scrap because these guys who are from the Ten Rings organisation want Shang Chi's pendant, which was given to him by his mother.
Dragonite?
Yes, Dragonite.
Yes.
I believe it was Razor's Fist that was after him.
Razor Fist, that's right. Who is played by Ivan Drago's son.
Yes.
In
Creed 2.
Yes.
The second Creed.
Let's just put this down right now. Let's just put this out there. That bus scene.
It's fantastic.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, Simu Liu is like, you're like, yeah, he's pretty good. And then that scene happens and you're like, yep, more of that. Yeah. All the time. Just put him on the screen doing that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I do as well. It felt, I'm trying to remember it because it was so brilliant and my mind has gone blank. But it was there wasn't too much like CGI moves and stuff like that. It was like very much like hand-to-hand combat, normal sort of stuff. There is some stuff when the bus starts crashing, he goes out the window, he's holding on and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. But everything else was like...
It's very subtle. If it is in there, it's subtle.
Whereas his dad and mum fighting was a bit like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon for me.
Yes, yeah. Like Wushu, I think it's called.
But I like
style of movie.
Yes.
Where
I like that. I thought it fit perfectly.
Yes, absolutely. I was just saying about the comparison between sort of... Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon type of like moves compared to a normal type of fight.
At that point in his life, he didn't have the ability to do that style of. He hadn't been trained for all of 30 minutes by his aunt to do that style of kung fu.
He's a quick learner.
But it was Michelle Yeoh, so
absolutely.
So of course you learned from her in 30 minutes.
I can't believe it took him that long.
Yeah,
But at that point, he was just trained. He was just using the training that he'd been given by his dad and the Ten Rings organisation to be a blunt instrument of death, to basically just kill or destroy whatever's in his way. Mm-hmm. So those guys really never stood a chance. And the only reason it lasted as long as it did was because Shang Chi was trying to save every single person on the bus because he is inherently a good person.
It took me back to bless you. Pause for. Sneeze. Might be another one.
How many? I'm going to go 5.
I
swallowed it.
Yeah, it'll come back later.
That was a burp.
It reminded me of in my youth when I used to watch like a lot of the old Bruce Lee movies, but also Jackie Chan movies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it wasn't the sort of comedy like Jackie Chan does, but it was that it had that sort of feeling about it because it was about saving people. It wasn't just about what punches I can do and what kicks I can do. It was like, this is the scenario I'm in and I'm dealing with things all around me, because Jackie Chan does that a lot. So he jumps through ladders and flies off motorbikes and things, and
yeah, it does. You're right. He kind of like, all of a sudden will be able to like see a knife on the table and manage to flick it up and like,
kick it in someone's face or
something like that.
That
it didn't feel like that for me. It felt like just non-comedic.
Yeah, and it wasn't comedic, but it was just that he was just using his surroundings. He was jumping through the rails and across it was just great. I mean, I could probably do a podcast all about that scene, to be honest. If we talked about it any longer, I think, What happens after that?
Well, anyway, long story short, too late. They get their hands on his pendant and they steal it, and he thinks, right, well, if they've got mine, they're going to go after my sisters. That's right. I need to go and find my sister. So they go out to Macau, beg your pardon, in just off the mainland of wherever it is in China, to find Jilin. Shang-Chi's sister.
Where beforehand we get the explanation of who Shang-Chi is, and he explains to Awkwafina. Yeah. We haven't spoken about Awkwafina too much just yet, but we should just say
Awkwafina's bloody brilliant.
She's amazing
in this film. She is
very good.
I don't know if you guys have seen The Farewell, which I've talked about before, but you absolutely have to watch it because she is just on fire on every level of drama you could imagine. She's comedic heaven, but also like, you're Ben, you'll be blubbing. I mean, knowing you as I do, and you like to cry at like a coffee advert or something.
Nescafe. When they were...
Oh, they were living near each other and they had to get a cup of sugar.
Yeah, he was all like that, and I think he was like, Nicole, papa.
Yeah,
he was probably
exactly right.
Well.
Yeah, we know.
That's a Renault Clio advert.
It doesn't matter, but it was the same thing.
It still made me cry.
Well, so what I'm saying is that she really, that in that film, The Farewell, she just you go on the roller coaster ride with her, and so having seen that, she can do no wrong for me.
Yeah,
she's actually in Crazy Rich Asians.
Yes, so I was going to say she's the friend's comedic friend in Crazy Rich Asians. So yeah, I mean she was brilliant in that. So the farewell, I think it's coming on to the Sky Movie channels.
I suspect
very
it
soon.
is. Yes.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
I recommend, highly recommend it.
Cool.
Okay.
So yeah, she's great in this.
She is.
I remember thinking early on, like, why is she in this? And also towards the end, you could say, why was she in this? But she's just in it because she is Awkwafina and she's amazing.
Okay, this is a little bit of a tangent from the story and possibly bleeds into the actors' characters bit. So maybe I'll hold it for now.
Okay.
Maybe I'll hold it for now.
No,
I'll hold it for now.
They go to Macau and they have a fight.
Got to Macau and they sign in to get into the penthouse, which is actually not them signing in to get into the penthouse. It's Shang Chi signing in to enter into a fighting tournament where he's going to end up fighting his sister. He won't fight his sister, of course. And before he does fight his sister, we see Abomination, complete with comic accurate ears now,
nice.
And
more abomination-y.
More abomination-y sort of face.
Fighting Wong.
And Wong takes him back to somewhere that looks a little bit like the raft.
And apparently Tim Roth is back for She-Hulk.
But he certainly wasn't back in this film.
No, he didn't voice him in this, but he is back as Abomination. He's going to be voicing him. So I think that was a tease for us.
I thought the Hulk killed him.
No, he doesn't. You very specifically see him still breathing. He just knocks him out.
Oh, okay.
I think he chokes him out.
Yeah.
Taps out.
Yeah.
Abomination taps out.
Yeah.
No, I think he passes out. I don't think he gets to tap out. I think he just no, I won't tap out. I won't tap out.
What did the Hulk give him? A rock bottom?
He throttled him with a
chain from a church.
Gold chain.
Not a Stone Cold Steve Austin stunner?
No.
Okay, fine. No. Just a chain.
I think you should rewatch Incredible Hulk. It's a good movie.
I think I remember liking it.
Yeah. People gave it a bit of a bad rap because it wasn't quite Iron Man, but I think it's a good movie.
Oh, well, if you think it's good, I won't watch it.
Oh.
Anyway.
They have a fight.
They fight
for a bit and then they're friends.
Fight for a bit and then they're friends. Yeah, absolutely. And then the Ten Rings show up. And they're like, you're all coming with us now. And then there's that massive fight on the outside of the building, which I liked, but I did think was completely nonsensical.
Yes.
Because I do think there was an awful lot of people who are running right at them, and they are, James, like an arm's length away from them at one moment, and then it cuts to a different perspective of the shot, and then nowhere near them.
But it doesn't matter because the fight ends with that neon fight with them in silhouette, and it is chef's kiss, and he does the running thing like in Casino Royale. You know,
yes,
there's the parkour scene in Casino Royale at the beginning. Yes. The same thing happens in this, and it's the Captain America run from Winter Soldier where he gets that he run. You know, the masked warrior, which we don't ever.
I thought that character was going to be a bit more important than they ended up being. Actually,
I quite like that we didn't know who it was. Anyway, but then
do you know who it might? Do you think?
No, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. But just the fact that he's just running, you know, full pelt, and then bam, straight into her, and it's just like, oh, it's so impressive.
It was absolutely that fight with the masked chap. I don't think you ever find out his name. Reminded me of a scene also from a Bond film, but it's actually one that I don't like very much. It's Skyfall, where there's a scene where Bond has a fight with an assassin guy in like a neon thing on top of a building,
with glass and stuff.
Yeah. It doesn't last very long. It's pretty crap, but it reminded me of that scene just for a split second. But the fight in Shang-Chi was obviously a lot better than that one.
I really loved that. I remember sitting in the cinema thinking, this is why I came to this film. Like, this is great.
There are so many bits in the film, like shots in the film, that you could look at it and go, wow, this looks like some sort of art house film. It's just so beautiful. Everything I'm looking at just works, and the vibrant colours. It's incredible. And then you remember you're watching an MCU popcorn flick. You know, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Anyway, right, still on the story. Have that fight. They lose. Captured by the dad who's like, oh, I missed you so much. Give us all the big hugs. Oh, Shang-Chi, I'm so pleased you're home. Oh, now you're back. We can take over the world together as father and son and rule the galaxy and use the Force with lightsabers.
Awkward moment.
Yeah.
Well, because he's
made me feel awkward.
But so well done. When they touch foreheads together, you're like, you instantly go, oh, Shang-Chi's going to be really annoyed with that, and you're annoyed for him. And then suddenly you see the power of their relationship.
You see he's a 14-year-old boy again in front of his dad.
Yeah, and you see that they actually do love each other. you know that he's this guy's a runaway kid, and you know that this guy's an imperial warlord. But suddenly they have this moment, and it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
I don't think we've talked about the fact that Shang Chi's mum was murdered by his dad's enemies.
No, but that comes up later.
Does come up later.
Yeah.
I do beg your pardon. I'm just skipping ahead in the story. I think it's over to you now in the story. Now they're at the Ten Rings compound.
You do what you could do. Again, you could just say this is that bit that's really boring that they eventually get over.
Well, kind of. It does happen, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That boring bit.
Yeah.
And then we find out about how the mum died. And
Yes.
that was pretty heartbreaking.
So she's lost her mystical Tarlo powers because she left them behind.
You let Ben do it, yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, I do this every time.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, it's fine.
I'm going to stop talking.
No, you won't be able to. You won't be able to, Ben. Just carry on. Let's carry on. No, what actually happens is Dad basically gets the dragon's stones, puts them in,
the eyes, yeah,
and
yeah.
then
These dependents of the kids, yeah?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And then this kind of awesome water scene. I thought it was pretty awesome. Happens. Katie's like, what the hell is going on here? And then basically...
this is showing them the path to get to Tarlo that only opens up every now and then.
But what we haven't said is the dad keeps on hearing the mum's voice. And is it going a little bit... Well, the rings are poisoning him.
It's a little bit Lord of the Rings, isn't it?
Yeah, one ring to rule them all.
Yeah.
Come on.
10 rings to find them.
Yeah.
Right. But it's not just the rings. I think it's the whatever is behind the veil in Tarlo
is doing it.
Captured.
Yes.
Is recognises the rings' power, recognises that the rings can set them free, so is manipulating Zhu Wenwu.
This for me is another bit of don't scratch it too far.
Yes.
Don't
because
bother.
it's like I quite like the idea that he's sort of entranced in some way, because what it does is makes him a really sympathetic person, and later on in the movie you are like, actually, it's kind of okay.
It's difficult, isn't it?
It's difficult to hate him
because, I mean, he's done lots of bad things.
Yeah,
and I think the mum dying scene is really heart wrenching, and they've done it perfectly. And then the dad sits down, opens up the box, and was like, it was almost like, I should never have left you. And then my thing was, well, you should have never left your kids.
Yeah.
You know,
and you're right. He has done lots of bad things, but you see that when he opens the box, you see it's the mum that's changed him. He's become a better person.
Yeah.
So I don't mind it, but like you say, like it's like, how much do you want to look into how this is happening to him? Because why is it just happening to him? It's just a bit.
How did you? Well, they obviously have the supper as well, sat down and talking.
Super awkward.
I quite like that scene.
I thought it was awkward.
I agree with what Ben said. It was awkward. It was super good though. I like you could see the personalities fighting each other. Katie just being completely out of place. I
like how I refer to her as "Oi, American girl."
Yeah, that's right.
But she's us, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she is. Yeah,
she's asking the questions. Yeah. Go on.
And then.
And then.
So I need to be careful with this bit, because they get imprisoned.
Yeah, because they don't agree to go willingly and help their dad.
Yeah. I think I might just skip this bit of the story and save it for in a minute.
Okay.
When we talk about the other sections in here, I'm going to just fast forward a little bit to the amazing scene of going through the maze to get to
Tarlo.
They're in the car, go through that, see all these mythical creatures. I mean, it's immense. Absolutely, like, take your breath away. Like,
that big
CGI, everything about that was like, do you know what? I'm believing this. This looks really, really good.
That big dog lion thing they've got. It's incredible. They've got two of them, haven't they?
All of those creatures are from Chinese mythology.
Yes.
So those dog lion things, you see them like all over palaces and stuff, and the sort of horse dragon things, and even those no-headed winged things are apparently from Chinese mythology. And you're right. You go through into Tarlo and you go, oh oh, it's this sort of movie now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I can deal with that.
Yeah.
I like the one they came up to the village. They obviously meet Ying Nan.
Yeah.
And that was kind of super emotional. And then the story seems to accelerate quite quickly for me.
Absolutely.
But really, it was accelerating, but at a really nice pace. So what I mean by that is, I don't know how long they were there for, but it felt like it could have been months. But actually, it might have only been days. But everyone got these great things. Katie became an archer.
Yeah,
she could just hit stuff.
I think it was literally hours. I don't think they were there for very long.
Okay, well,
I might be wrong,
but maybe it's something there that believe in yourself and you can get yourself through it. And...
you've put a pin in something to come back to. This is my pin. I want to come back to this bit.
Okay, fine. And they're getting ready for a big battle where they're going to come in. I can't remember what the horrible beasts are called.
No, I don't think we ever know. They're like soul eaters, but they don't really give them names. I was thinking that about the big dragon at the end. I wanted it to be called like
Gargamel.
Yeah, or Xanathar. Or do you know what I mean? It was just called the big one. What was it? Did it have a name?
Remember.
Exactly.
I know it had a name, but I couldn't remember.
But the dragon, spoilers,
Oh.
is called the Protector.
Yes. Or the Great Protector?
The Great Protector, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just when that turns up, it's just...
All of that scene, I mean, the CGI of the whole thing is incredibly well done. I didn't look at any of it and go, that doesn't look real. No. I mean, knowing that none of it is real, I still looked at it and went, yeah, that looks great. That looks really good. It doesn't feel like they've wasted any of the budget at all.
No.
It felt like every single penny of everything they put into that film just made it look visually stunning.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when Wu rocks up to the village,
Yes.
there's a bit of a face-off.
Yes.
Groups start fighting. When Wu takes on Sean, wins to start with.
Yeah.
Sean wakes up the dragon.
Falls in the river, wakes up the dragon. Dragon's his mum. His
Maybe,
voice.
yeah.
Don't know. Anyway, when Wu's super ringed himself,
Yes.
flown over, and now he's
really painful.
It does sound, yeah.
He then starts battering on the big red shield to get the Soul Eaters out. Reminded me a little bit of Facehuggers from Aliens.
Yeah.
But more manageable because they don't look like big spiders, so I wasn't really shitting my pants.
I really loved how when they were like cut or like shot or something, like their bodies did like rip apart and it was gooey, but then it like straight back together.
Yeah.
That made them
brilliant.
terrifying, right?
I really like the fact that the villagers are trying to tell when Wu's
Razor fist.
Yeah, and the guy's like, we need to work together on this because these are nasty. And he's like, well, we don't need any help, blah blah blah. And then they see what these soul.
It kills the big bad, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
kills the
Kills the mask guy.
And he's like, okay, we need to help.
Yeah,
another thing, Marvel humour all the way through it, absolutely brilliant. Anyway, Sean wakes up, gets to ride a dragon, who reminds me of Neverending Story.
Yeah.
What was that called?
The big dog.
What was the name, Ben? Tell me the name.
It's not Atreyu.
No, because that's the boy. If there's any way to find out. Anyway, he's riding Atreyu, gets and then speaks to his dad again when we're to try and stop him from doing it, and they have a fight. Falcor, thank you.
What a beautiful fight it is.
Hang on, whose fight?
Wenwu
And
Shang Chi.
Chi.
Oh yeah.
I tell you what, it was. I nearly did a Ben. I got a little bit emotional, a little bit of a lump in my throat because you just saw. I think you saw obviously Sean getting stronger and getting 5 rings.
Yeah.
It's like it must have just won a video game or whatever.
Yeah. It was very Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, it was like kind of like okay. And when we were going like, what's going on here? And then I think there's the realization of what's actually happening, whether that's because the rings were darkening his mind or whatever that might be.
And he does the like fireball that his mum did, then drops them. That's nice.
That's absolutely brilliant. And then the rings become Sean's. And
hang on. Wenwu gives Shang-Chi the rings. Sacrificing his own life, but saving his sons, knowing that he's done wrong.
And there's that moment of I love you, Dad. I love you, boy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And then we get like flashbacks to the forehead moment, like through ages. Yeah. I think that's one of the most impressive things about the movie is that the villain is so sympathetic.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
I think
the fact that it's played by is it Tony Leung? I think it is, who is a noted
I think he's a legend. I think he's actually a legend in China.
Yeah, I think he without someone that can portray that amount of gravitas and bring all of that onto the screen and make you actually feel a little bit towards him, it just could have flopped massively.
And what's interesting is he's not a big man, is he? Like he's not a hulking man. He's not a presence necessarily physically, but he acts as a presence. When he's on the screen,
he's larger than life.
This guy is incredible.
Yeah, he walks into a room, everyone looks.
Yeah, exactly.
That type of thing. I mean, you need to wear a suit to earn respect. Remember that.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah. That's a little in joke for us.
Yeah, thanks very much. Big battle between a dragon and a soul.
Dweller in the Darkness. That's what it's called.
Yeah, yes, it's a bad name. It needs to be called like Gilgamesh or Xanathar or
Falcor.
Yeah, all of those things.
Yeah.
Sean uses his rings. They win.
Yeah.
Gets off the dragon, and that when the dragon comes in and he gets, that was the point. I was just like, that dragon looks bloody real. I mean, really good, real.
You have missed the sister does ride the dragon. In fact, I think the sister almost rides the dragon better than Shang.
Because she's a better martial artist than Shang.
Yeah.
Possibly. Maybe.
Because without her there guiding it, would he have been able to do it? It's all about working together.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
There's a lot of yin yang in this.
Cool.
Even like right at the end when the Protector is swimming underneath the the candles they put out in the water.
Yeah.
It swims in a yin yang shape, and it's like hitting you over the head with it. Like there are different sides to everything.
Yes.
So are you going to bring us home with the last little bit of the film?
What happens at the end? So then they go home and they then we redo the scene which we didn't talk about earlier, where they're talking to their friends, because their friends earlier were saying to them like, "Hey, you're dropouts, you're washouts, you
get a life. What are you doing?"
I think they basically actually do say, "You've both got PhDs, but you're driving cars," or something like that. It's telling the audience, by the way, they're great. They're not. Useless.
They're not washouts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then Wong turns up and says, "Shang Chi, I need you," and you come, and also Katie, you come too.
Well, we could do that, or
they
end up singing karaoke with Wong.
And there's a question about where the rings come from and blah 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 blah, which we'll get to later.
Well, don't forget the mid-credit scene and the end-credit scene.
Mid-credit scene.
It's Carol Danvers and Bruce Banner.
Oh yeah,
as Bruce Banner, not as Professor Hulk. As Bruce Banner
with his arm in a sling still.
Arm in a sling, talking about where the rings came from. Where we think that. So you've got Shang-Chi talking to two big time Avengers, a founding member of the Avengers and the new Cap, basically. Saying, "Hey, we think these are the rings." Sorry, when I say new Cap, I don't mean obviously new Cap's the nerd. I mean
that's wrong.
Yeah,
Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And the end credits is the sister taking over the 10 rings.
Yes.
She's a baddie.
Very interesting.
Come to that in a bit, because we've got at the end, we'll talk about where the future is.
We're going to wrap this up,
yeah,
Yeah, nice.
So, we've talked a little bit about actors and characters in this. There's one black hole in the statement I'm about to make. But
I know what it is.
I
know what it is.
I'm going to make a statement. Everyone in this is perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
Agreed.
I just loved them all. I've seen it twice. I loved it both times. I just wanted more of them all.
Yes.
Apart from Trevor
Slattery?
Yeah.
Yes. The Mandarin?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, we'll get to that bit in the bit we don't like about. We'll talk about not liking, right? Because that's your bit that you don't like.
For a moment, it took me out of the film.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it was really weird.
Moment.
Yeah.
It was like I needed a wee in the film, so I went outside to go and have a wee, but it actually turned into more than that.
Yeah.
And I stayed a little bit longer than I had first anticipated. I came back. I think you could miss all of that out, and it wouldn't make a difference.
100%.
Okay.
There's an element of that where you could say like, oh, the no-headed wing thing guides them through the maze. Well, just make it something like the mum taught them through a play game that they did once.
Yeah, that would have worked.
Maybe they couldn't come. Maybe they're having a slow day in the writers' room that day, or something like that.
They're having a poor day.
No,
I think what they wanted to do is tie it back to the MCU of old,
and they wanted to cut ties with the Iron Man 3 Mandarin.
Yes,
so
100%. Which also makes the one shot where Trevor Slattery is broken out of prison canon.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we talked about Simu Liu a little bit. Simu Liu.
Yes. Can I just say, I think the film does him a small disservice. I don't think he's given enough to do as the leading man of the film. Don't get me wrong. I think he's perfect as Shang-Chi. I think he is physically, obviously, able to do almost everything that the character is asked to do. I just think that the story... he doesn't drive the story forward. I think the story carries him.
I agree.
As Shang-Chi. And I think that in the next film, and that's why I think Awkwafina's in it, because she's not just a love interest for Shang-Chi. She has enough of a presence about her to be almost like of an equal lead to him. Yeah. So it moves the film forward with their friendship at the heart of it, and that's great. But I just think that I'm not saying cut Awkwafina out of it at all. I just think that sometimes your core Marvel superhero is given more to do. I don't think he's given as much to do. I think he's reacting to everything around him all the time. I think that's slightly poor writing.
I think there's a bloating of characters. As much as I love them all in it, you have three main leads. You've got Katie, Shang-Chi, and the sister whose name I can never remember. Jiling, thank you. And they're all great.
Absolutely fantastic.
What they could have done is given one of them a side story, or two of them a side story, which runs parallel and they meet at different points along the way.
Yeah. To
give them their own adventures and their own arcs, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas what actually is that all three of them just travel together all the time.
Yeah. Katie's arc is that she finds some sort of purpose in her life. Shang-Chi becomes the perfect version of himself, and the sister starts off as running her own club, her own fight club, and then sort of redeems it with her dad and gets over her dad and then takes over her dad's organisation that she was never had a chance to lead with her dad being alive. Yeah.
But in some ways they think the character is about being in the shadows.
Yes.
So the sister is about never being at the front of the show.
Yeah.
Just in the background, pulling the strings, you know, setting stuff up. I don't know who you are, but actually, yes, I'm the leader of the Ten Rings or whatever like that. So I think in some ways, I did think it worked quite well.
I agree, it did. I think when we're talking about what Ben's saying about Shang-Chi doesn't have as much to do as perhaps he could do. If you separated the story slightly, I think you're right. I think her story could have been the whole film. So good, absolutely. So interesting. Yeah. And you're right, and what you just described of her being in the background, figuring things out, and taking over. You know, I hated everything about Trevor in it. Michelle Yeoh's character, it was in it for half a heartbeat, but she's just wonderful. Again, she just commands the screen.
I was going to say exactly the same. You're in the moment all of the time. Anything else could be happening around you, and just the way that she's talking, the way that she acts, the way she's like her voice is just so soothing.
Yeah,
I'd forgotten she was in it until I literally saw her on the screen, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Michelle Yeoh's in this. It's brilliant."
I thought she was going to be the mum, but like having aged because the Mandarin doesn't age. He's not the Mandarin. Sorry, the dad doesn't age because of the rings. I thought she was going to be the mum, and the mum hadn't died. Because at that point we hadn't actually seen the flashback where the mum had died.
Yeah, sure.
But then it turned out to be the aunt.
I was like, because I knew you were watching it for a second time. I knew you wouldn't mind being disturbed. I was like, oh, Discovery. you were like, yeah.
Yes, yes, James. No, because I was like, Ben doesn't like this. Don't disturb him.
I did it a couple of times myself, actually, in the film. I was excited. It's my first time back to the cinema in 18 months.
Yeah. Really loved like all the sort of wushu type martial arts with like you said earlier, both of you actually said earlier about the moving the air and stuff. It was really interesting, the elements in it. So in order to get to Ta Lo, they had to go through the waterfall, and there was a portal that was like a spinning water. They use a circle symbol. They do with the mum and the aunt do the foot on the ground, and then the air moves around them. And Doctor Strange and all of the Kamatage people have very fiery type of
earth elements.
Yeah,
interesting.
What's the earth element then?
Well, they use water. The Kamatage use fire. What else is there?
Air.
Yeah.
Oh, we're talking about Captain Planet.
Yeah, Heart. Who's
no? What I suspect is we'll see more of that sort of thing.
Yes, and I just thought it was really interesting that those elements were really were lent into, and it was really nice that they kept the same aesthetic. It's those circles,
air, fire, and water, right?
Yeah, but what's Earth? What was the Earth bit?
It'll be Wanda Maximoff in some way.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was really good.
Are we talking about favourite bits here?
Yeah, should we talk about favourite bits?
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't get much better for me than the fight on the train, bus, whatever it was, in San Francisco. That was just wonderful. The second I saw the mum do the foot sweep thing, go behind her, and the camera sort of panned down on her foot doing that, I was like, someone's going to use that later on in the film. That was literally Chekhov's smoking gun.
Yeah, it was.
It was Chekhov's smoking karate move, or whatever you want to call it, but it was kung fu move. Yeah. But it was all of the fights in it, even the one on the outside of the building, was a bit,
I still liked that. I still thought it was
tense.
Liked it. Yeah.
The bit where the dad sacrifices himself and gives his power to his son, knowing that his son will use it for good rather than him using it in the way it's corrupted him, I just thought was great. And now Shang Chi's also got a superpower, the 10 rings. Whether or not he'll keep them, I don't know.
I think he will.
We'll see.
Yeah.
What about some of your favourite bits, JB?
Scaffold fight. Thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I also like the bit where Sean is starting to have a fight and he's not got a shirt on.
And
Aquafina's like, dang.
Where did your shirt go?
She is great. She's got and I've said she's great so much, but she's got what are those people who do mime? She's got mime skills, do you know? Because she's so articulate with her body. Because she goes, "What happened to your shirt?" Like that. I would never think to do that, but the way she does it with her hands, it makes you laugh.
God, Nathan, why don't you marry her?
Okay, I will. Where is she?
I kind of liked all of those interactions. all the funny bits from that. The flight scene is really funny with the names. So I've got to tell you, my real name is Shang. What, Sean?
Yeah, Sean.
But you changed it. Why didn't you change it to Peter or something? I thought that was brilliant. I also thought the randomness of the flight attendant coming in and talking about the food, I thought was quite funny. So we'll just have the beef then?
Yeah,
we just got beef. Okay, we'll just do that.
Classic Marvel humour, isn't it? Yeah.
And they just hit it. I think they hit it 9 times out of 10. Was there anything else that I really, really liked? I liked all the mythical creatures.
Yeah, loved mythical
creatures. That was quite cool. What else haven't we spoken about?
I have already said it, but just the colour palette of the film, it's just
superb. It shifts.
Chef's kiss.
It shifts gear. So when they go through Ta Lo, it suddenly becomes this bright, magical thing. Yeah. I said to you guys that I loved this movie before because before I went to see it, and then I saw it again with you guys. And then afterwards, I was like, "Why wouldn't I like it?" It's a Marvel movie, it's a superhero movie, it's an action movie, it's a fantasy movie, and it's a Godzilla movie.
Yes,
it's got everything that you want.
Yeah,
and kind of it did have knife lasers, didn't it?
There was some knife lasery type things in there. Yeah, it was pretty.
What, the sticks that they use in Ta Lo, that sort of thing? Is that a knife laser? Is that what you're talking about?
I was thinking more about what's the fist guy got? Honestly, my brain is gone.
Iron Fist.
Yeah,
no, Razor Fist.
Razor Fist. Kind of knife lasery.
Actually, the way the rings work it's got a bit of knife laseriness about it, because there's that bit when Shang-Chi and his dad both grab a ring and it's like a tight.
Oh, okay, that bit. Yeah, I think that the rings have more powers than the father character knows or understands. I think there's more to them than just that he can use them to sort of spring off the ground and then sort of land somewhere or fire them at people. I think there's more to them than that. He's only ever used... I mean, if you think about it, if you compare the Ten Rings and Shang Chi, so he trained Shang Chi to be this weapon.
Yeah, assassin.
But there was more to Shang Chi.
Yeah.
So he's only ever going to use the Ten Rings in a certain way to get to meet his aims. But I think there's more to the Ten Rings. I don't think they're just an instrument of war. I think there's much more to them.
And that's another thing that's lovely about this movie, is that the whole thing is metaphor upon allegory upon metaphor. Like when he's training with his aunt and he's doing all this closed fist stuff, and she comes up to him and she gently opens his hand.
Open hand, yeah.
It's the same as the rings.
Yeah.
The dad is just using them for brute force.
Yeah.
And everything he does with them is brute force. He jumps with them, he smashes people in the face with them, he kills people, you know.
They're sort of like guns as well.
They're guns,
they?
yeah, exactly. Whereas when Shang gets them, he uses them to move them around space and move you know, things around him. He uses them for good almost. You know, he's
less aggressive type of...
Absolutely. There's a... Now, I only know this because of, let's say, my father-in-law does Wing Chun. Yes, Wing Chun.
Oh, that's the one that Bruce Lee studied as a young man.
Yes, Ip Man.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So in Wing Chun, there are 2 ways of doing all of the moves. Mm-hmm. There's soft and hard. And so it's that same sort of thing, that yin-yang element to it, where you can do it with a closed fist and you can put pressure in, or you can do open hand, and it is more about the sort of the meditative element of it. So it's that sort of thing.
Very good.
You know.
By the way, if you do like a kung fu film, and if you do like a bit of Wing Chun, I recommend Donnie Yen's Ip Man.
Oh yes, I hear that's very
God,
good.
it's fun. There is a fight scene in that where he takes on 10 guys, and it is incredible. Anyway, back to Shang-Chi.
One last thing I did like before we get into some stuff we didn't like, the Godzilla fight at the end. I really loved it.
I said to you when the credits came up, before the mid-credits, I was like, God, Nathan, that must have been brilliant for you. Yeah. It was great big things smashing into each other. You're like, yeah,
I loved it. Because I thought the thing that's not got a name that we want to have a name looked evil in every way.
Yes.
The Great Protector looked good in every way.
Yeah.
It was perfect imagery. When you think the Great Protector is about to die, it's actually quite tense because you think, oh, do you know what? That might actually die right now, and that would be quite bad. I thought that was really good.
Did you think that the Dweller in the Darkness, whatever it was called, did you think at some point or another that, hey, is this Mephisto?
No.
Okay,
no,
good.
No. I think it's one of the Eternals villains. Deviants. Yeah,
I think you're probably right.
It's Deviant. Yeah,
you're probably right.
Should we talk about some things we didn't like quickly?
Yes.
Didn't like Trevor.
Didn't like Trevor at all. The whole thing was bad.
It made me cringe every time he spoke.
Absolutely.
And I feel like, and I'm obviously talking about the character.
Yeah.
Not the actor.
Well, it's got a bit of an extra edge to it because remind me of the actor's name. Ben Kingsley. Thank you. You know this.
Excuse me.
Classic Sir. As I say,
Kingsley.
This classically trained actor who played Gandhi, who's done incredible work, is doing this. I'm like, oh, I don't like it. It feels icky.
Yeah,
his accent's changed as well.
Yeah,
they're leaning into the fact that he is, because in the Iron Man film he was watching a game of football when Liverpool were playing.
Yeah,
and when Liverpool scored, he celebrated. So now they've sort of given him a semi-Liverpudlian accent every now and then.
Yeah,
and
it's not quite right.
Weak.
I mean, he must have got paid a lot of money.
I agree. Yeah,
but
what you said earlier about cutting him out,
just you could miss it like every time, like even when the battle scene's happening and he's just lying there and he's not dead.
I'm acting, darling.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know. I could have easily done without it.
Yeah,
I could have easily done without it.
It's unfair for me to put it in worst, but it's a bit I've already talked about, and that's the fact that I don't think that they gave Shang-Chi enough to do as a lead character in the film. I think it was as slightly diluted. At the same time, I didn't dislike the film.
I think my worst bit, aside from Trevor, actually links into that. Mm-hmm. I think if this wasn't MCU, and if perhaps it had some braver producers, because I think obviously the
braver than Kevin Feige. get
out. Because let me explain. I think if it was a different scenario, this would be 2 films, at least.
Okay.
Where you would have him, training and probably have it almost go up to where the father dies, and then there's a whole other movie where you maybe go back in the story a little bit, where he trains in Ta-Lo, and then because of the actions of his father, that it weakens the wall, and then he comes through. Like, I feel like there are 2 movies in here, and there's enough content for 2 movies, and especially if you do the sister and stuff. I think that's my criticism of it, is that I think it moved at such a pace, which is how modern Marvel movies work. We know that sometimes things were just skipped over. Things happened very quickly because it helped the story. Like you were saying about Shang, he doesn't always do stuff. Stuff happens to him. Whereas I think that's because they're just like, well, we've got to get to that bit.
Yeah.
Got to get to that bit.
Got to get into Ta-Lo. Got to get that stuff happening there. I understand that.
The other side to that, though, is that we've just spent nearly an hour pouring total love over this movie, and we thoroughly enjoyed the experience of it. But I think if it was to be fleshed out, you might come out of it thinking, God, I felt something from this film rather than I've just enjoyed the spectacle. So yeah, that was my sort of worst.
I kind of feel that the sister character could have actually been used as almost like a hero / villain of a sequel film.
Yeah,
this.
Exactly. Yeah.
However, at the same time, that the sequel film, I mean, we'll talk about that in a bit, but what that's going to focus on, and to have the sister set up how they have at the end of the film as the new leader of the new 10 Rings. Yeah. There's potential for that to cross over right across the MCU with some of the stuff we've seen recently. So yeah, good stuff. I think very good.
Now. I'm just going to ask this question, and let's not even go into it because we'll get it bad. We'll get it bad, get it wrong. Was it a good representation of Chinese culture?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Yes, I'm going to say yes. It was.
I don't know, but if I noticed they took shoes off before they went into rooms.
Yeah, very good.
And karaoke.
There was a really.
That's more of a Japanese. Began in Japan, didn't it? Karaoke. Sorry,
don't know. But
there was a beautiful scene where he goes to Katie's house.
Yes,
and there's the family there.
Yes. Yeah, and that reminded you of the farewell, right?
It did remind me of the farewell, but when they were talking about culture, and the mum says that's an American way of thinking, not a Chinese way of thinking.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was just like, yeah, that's nice to kind of go like, yeah, that's not how we would think.
I like the fact that Shang Chi can speak Mandarin. Yep. I guess it's Mandarin. Is it Mandarin?
Yeah, Cantonese, Mandarin, maybe. Yeah.
And the Aquafina understands bits and pieces because she's obviously grown up around it, but she's not completely fluent in it.
Yeah,
that was good.
Yeah.
Was it a good representation of Chinese culture, Nathan? I'm not Chinese. I can't really answer that question. I mean, I know that in the past, when the university, pre-COVID times, if you can remember back that far, when the university that we work at has done Chinese New Year celebrations, there's always on the North Piazza. There's a great big. Like dancing the dragon thing they always do, and it's one of the most impressive things I have ever seen, like live in front of me. It's just so good. The way it's always dancing around, and every single person inside the dragon knows what they're doing. It's completely coordinated. And then you look at that and you go, well, obviously the dragon is a massive part of Chinese culture, and then the greatest good within the film, other than Shang-Chi at the end,
is the protector.
The great protector, which is a dragon. So. Yes, I guess, but that's from my extremely limited understanding of Chinese culture, which is not in depth in any way, shape or form. And it probably should be, but hey, it isn't. I'm a British white man. I'm sorry.
I've just thought of another worst bit that I didn't like. Sorry, just very quickly. I didn't like the Man of Steel, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and now we'll call it Shang-Chi, pin art, tell the story of what happened in the past with a wall of stuff.
Oh yes, with the monument wall.
Yeah, the monument wall. Yeah. I was a bit like, I've seen this now in a couple of movies, and it seems
it was a different take on it.
It's a very cheap way now of giving exposition, isn't it?
Yes, but hey, it works.
2 movies. This is 2 movies.
I know.
So what does it set up for the future then, guys?
Okay. So a couple of things.
I'll leave it up to you comic book experts on this one.
Well, hey, who knows?
I'm drawing a lot of blanks apart from Eternals, but...
Well, okay, so yeah, if you think that the big bad in behind the wall in Tarlo is a deviant, then yes, it links to the Eternals. If you think that the Ten Rings are supernatural, could be supernatural. If you think they're from space in some way, possibly linked to the Eternals and the who created them, the Celestials.
Yeah, I think it's all Celestials. Yeah,
we'll see. The fact that you've got two core Avengers having a nice chat with Wong and Katie and Shang Chi in the mid-credit scene, and that Bruce Banner says, "Hey, welcome to the circus," I think he says, or "welcome to the ride," like this all the time. Whatever he says, it's like, oh god, yeah. So the fact that there's Wong sort of does his magic zoom into the Ten Rings that they're analysing, and it's like, yeah, look, there's a beacon in there. It's setting off to someone. Who? Don't know.
Yeah,
we'll find out. So. They've not written that yet, obviously.
No,
okay, we'll figure that out later, but yeah.
It could be, wild speculation here, it could be, as I said once before, Galactus. Because if Galactus is a Celestial, which is one way they could do it in this series, that could be how you bring Fantastic Four in. So the rings are setting off a beacon.
The beacon calls the
Herald of Galactus. The Herald, which is Silver
Silver Surfer.
Galactus is a Celestial and the rings are from the Eternals, which are from the Celestials anyway. And then you get maybe Fantastic Four are from a divergent timeline, or maybe they're from Tarlo or something. That was the question I have for you. Is Tarlo got lots of cities and stuff, or is it just
that bit is like a village which looks at the wall, but there's cities within Tarlo as well.
So it's an alternate dimension. Good question.
Possibly.
Don't scratch the surface.
No, don't scratch it. Don't scratch it. I want to know, is there any linkage into the upcoming Spider-Man film? Because obviously in the trailer for it, Strange is talking with Peter, and Peter's talking about, I want to go back in time, I don't want everyone. And Wong goes out of the room to say, don't do this, I'll be back. Now,
don't do that spell.
Exactly right. I mean, is he going...
I think he's going to get the Abomination. I think we will see through the portal.
Through that bit.
I think so.
That? Okay.
Because the MCU, it all ties in.
Because then I think,
but I thought Spider-Man wasn't in the MCU. Yeah, I mean, is it all linked in now?
Yeah, it is.
Is it in?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course it is.
I think this movie takes place probably before Peter unravels the universe with Doctor Strange.
Okay.
Well, yes, because it's...
Yeah, but just before.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay, fine.
Okay.
Because Wong is clearly off doing these adventures, training the Abomination, and then speaking to Shang Chi.
Is Spider-Man next in the film? Or
No,
Eternals?
It's Eternals and then Spider-Man.
Okay.
But I don't think Eternals is going to tie into the rest of the MCU very much. I think it's going to be like Shang-Chi. I think it's going to be its own thing and then a couple of things planted in.
That's a question I was going to ask. Could you watch this film without knowing anything else about the MCU?
Absolutely. I think it's really well made in that way, actually.
Do you think it was like after Avengers there was the full stop, and now this is opening up new?
Yeah, I think that's
because I agree. I mean, that's why I asked the question, because I feel like you could watch this and you don't need to have seen anything else.
No.
I mean, it's nice, but we've got the trailer with, like you said, about Banner and Marvel having a chit chat.
But it's not important necessarily.
Well, maybe the Wong bit might be.
Maybe, but again, you could just have it as a mystery for the next film.
Yeah, maybe.
But I think some of the earlier Marvel films got criticised for that. So like Iron Man 2, help me out here. Some of the other ones that were just tie-ins.
Dark
Thor. Yeah, there were a few that were just like, oh well, you're just setting up for the next thing, and then like Avengers. You can't watch the Avengers without having watched anything else because it just starts and you're just in it. So I think that there's probably it's the same thing with comic books. Quite often, what happens in comic books is every few years they'll reset their numbering, because if you're at issue 452, new people don't know where to start.
No.
Can I get 400 issues back? I don't know.
I could read them all.
Yeah, you could JB it.
JB it,
yeah.
right, mate.
But people that want to jump on, because
No.
constantly people are coming of age that they want to read comic books, they want a point where they can come into. So they know that only a few years back it reset to number 1, and some of the story reset, or some of it didn't. But you can jump in there, you can go, well, they've written it in a way that it's new reader friendly.
Yeah.
So even if all the history has happened, it's still new reader friendly.
They did it a little bit with Invincible because they do it
with loads of
they did exactly that where
The reboot bit,
the whole reboot bit. Yeah.
So I think that's what they're doing here. But this is phase 4, isn't it?
Sure. Yeah.
So I think this is. So when did the movie start? 2008.
What?
The MCU.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant this movie.
No,
Yes,
2008.
Iron Man was 2008.
So how many years ago was that?
Yes.
13 years ago?
Yes.
So there are people now going to the cinema to love MCU films that weren't born.
Yes, my daughter Grace, for example,
Yeah.
was born in 2009.
So they need now number 1s. They need issue 1s.
Yeah, this is why they're introducing new characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's...
I just want to say as well that the Xiling character restarting and running the new Ten Rings organization, I think that has the ability to tie into quite a lot of things that we've seen recently. So, for example, Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Sharon Carter is a wrong'un.
Yeah.
And I think she'll have some dealings with Xiling.
Thunderbolts, maybe?
Possibly Thunderbolts.
Hawkeye, maybe?
Hawkeye, possibly.
Oh, there was a trailer for that recently.
There was. It was very good.
I liked it.
Average.
We'll talk about that another time.
Yes, we will.
So let's wrap it up then. So I think I'll very quickly give you what I thought of it. I really loved it.
Wow, that was really
Yeah,
good.
that was it. Yeah.
I agree. I really, really enjoyed it. I think it was not a perfect origin movie, MCU origin movie, but damn near close.
Yeah.
I think it's a good 7.5 rings out of 10 rings.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I meant to do that one.
Thank you. I loved it. Yeah, it's really good. Really good. I could go and watch it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want more Shang Chi in my life.
Well, I saw it within 4 days. I saw it twice within 4 days, and it was not. There was not a moment that I was bored in the second viewing.
It has made worldwide $258 million.
I think that's it's definitely post-COVID record.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
that was the big worry, wasn't it? That this sort of little-known character in this time when cinemas are a bit not sure might not do well, and therefore the character might get sort of shoved back. He's going to be one of the headliners for the future. And
I also think the fact that this film has made money like it is means that movies coming out between now and the end of the year will continue at the rate that they are coming out, which is like 2 a month.
Yeah,
2 big films a month.
There's so many coming out. We talked about this last time, didn't we? There was just in the last pod when we were doing the news stuff. It's just like Dune, Ghostbusters. I've forgotten all the others. Eternals, Spiderman.
Yeah. There's another one. There's a. Oh, Jesus Christ Almighty!
There's tons of TV shows as well. There's Yellowstone coming back. There's Hawkeye. There's
too much. The Walking Dead.
Wheel of Time.
I haven't even touched it.
No, me neither.
Yeah. So good, right? Well, Ben, where can people get hold of us if they want to tell us what they thought of Shang-Chi?
Well, first things first, Nathan. I just want to say, if you're still listening, thank you very much, and we would appreciate a 5-star review, or you can give any kind of review. But if it's less than 5 stars, maybe keep it to yourself. Yeah. They can listen to this podcast on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on other podcasts app, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and our podcast hosting site, which is nerdschatting.podbean.com. They can contact us on social media, which is nerdschatting, all one word, at nerdschatting. That's on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, or they can send Nathan an email, which is nerdschatting@outlook.com, and he will forward it to me to reply.
Please send me an email. I'd love an email.
You do know now that someone's going to send you an email.
Yeah.
And it will be your pal from Essex.
Yeah, but I don't want... Well, obviously Colin. I want Colin to message me. I love hearing from Colin. But and I don't want you two to message me, because I know you will, because you're both tricksters.
Bother. I can't be bothered with you.
Wow.
That rings true.
Yeah. We're going to be back in a couple of weeks to talk about June, maybe, or something.
June soon. I think it might be
June soon.
June soon, and there might be October. There's something definitely the 30th of September. If only we knew. We're not going to look it up now, though. But we will be back.
Exist to look that up.
We're back in a couple of weeks or a month, maybe, just to give another review on stuff. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.